Welcome back to Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire for the second string of round one action in the Ladies Pro Series Playoffs. These two matches right here, Karen Dumais leads Cheryl DeVol by 63 pins. As you'll recall, she had a 165 in the first string. Meanwhile, Amy Doobie leads Peggy Tosi by 3. She had 118 to Peggy's 115. Cheryl DeVol with a spare in the first box, so she is not giving up by any means. And there's with another string to go, and these are two-string matches, so there's plenty of time to make up some ground. Karen with an 8 box. Amy Doobie with a 10. And Peggy Tosi also with 10. You can see that there's also some action on lanes 7 and 8. A couple matches going on over there, and the winners of those two matches will get involved with the winners of these matches in the next round of the playoffs. What's going on here is seeds 3 through 14 in the standings are fighting it out for to cut the lead, cut the field from 14 bowlers to 8, and after that it'll be straight bracket match play. With the top seeds, Amanda Carroll and Lynn Thompson, have a bye in the first round. Cheryl DeVol has already picked up 10 pins. She's recouped 10 pins of that 63 pin lead, so there's still a long hill to climb, but she's already picked up 10, and there's another spare in the third. Amy Doobie with a nice recovery there after that one drop. She comes back to work it out for a 10. And Peg Tosi with a 9. So they're tied at 28 in this string, so Amy still has a 3-pin lead overall. Cheryl DeVol with a 7 drop on that spare. And there is a strike by Karen Dumais. Let's take a look at this. Very much like some of the strikes that she threw in the first string. You'll recall that she threw 3 and 4 boxes, including a double in the 8th and 9th. So that's going to kind of put the brakes on Cheryl DeVol's attempt to come back from that big deficit, at least for the time being. And Amy Doobie needs an out, because she just went threw the second ball in the same spot as that first one, so she still has that spread eagle plus the 8 pin to pick up to work it out. And she goes right through the same spot for yet a third time. So that's a 3 box, which is going to cost her 6 pins. And meanwhile, Karen Dumais with another strike, so she has a double strike, just as she had in the first string. And that's really going to take the wind out of Cheryl DeVol's sails, because she's trying to make up a big deficit, and your opponent throws a double at you. It's pretty tough to make up any ground. Anyhow, so that's a good way to sit for Karen Dumais. She's got 24 after 3, and then strikes in the 4th and 5th. So she and Cheryl will give way to Kim Kangas and Brooke Anton. Brooke, as I mentioned, is leading by 15 coming into this string. She had a 120 in the first string. Kim Kangas had a 105. On the other match, Amy Doobie has a 10 box for a 41 half, and Peggy Tosi with a 45 half, so Peggy takes a 1-pin lead. So Christy Lipke will come up on lane 4 and Sandy Bianco on lane 3. Christy leads by 23 coming in. And Christy with a nice solid 1-3 pocket hit. She has an 8-pin, but a kind of a tricky piece of wood out front. There's another piece of wood to the right that, well, it looked like she was trying to use that second piece of wood out to the right, but she just missed it. And Brooke Anton with a strike in the second box. She had kind of a splash, similar to the second strike that Karen Dumais had, the one she had in the fifth box. And Kim Kangas working on the triangle 4, 7, 8, and she's not able to get over to that 4-pin, so she'll be open in the second box. And Brooke Anton will have an opportunity to stretch out her lead a little bit. And there is a backdoor strike by Christy Lipke. Take a look at this. This is kind of an ugly hit. It's sort of a splash on the 3-pin, but everything comes flying back and the head pin goes, and that's a strike which looks great on the scoreboard. She's a little bit sheepish about how that happened, but nothing wrong with a strike on the board in the second box, and that will give her a chance to pad her lead that she has against Sandy Bianco. Brooke Anton with an 8 fill on the strike in the second. She has added 8 pins to her 15-pin lead, so she now leads by 23. Let's see if Kim Kangas can, trying to get that 10-pin, but she had a piece of wood way out front, and it was a little bit too far out maybe to guide the ball over into the 10. She'll take a 10. So Brooke Anton still leads by 23. Great shot for a spare by Christy on lane 4. And Sandy Bianco with a nice try on that 4-7-10 split with a piece of wood out front. She tried to use it to the wood to take out the 10 and have the ball take out the 4-7. So Christy is leading by 17 plus the 23. So that's a 40-pin lead. Spare by Brooke Anton in the fourth. Kim Kangas with that 5-6-10, very difficult spare. Christy trying to work out that that 3-pin punch through the middle. And she works it out for a 10. Not entirely sure if that was a 3 or a 4 drop by Christy. If I make an occasional scoring error on these, it's because when I do the editing, I'm looking at essentially the same size screen that you're probably watching on, so sometimes it's hard to see a back pin. But in any case, the correct scores did go down on site, so there was nothing to worry about there. If I get the score wrong here, it's my own fault. Anyhow, Brooke Anton with a 59.5 to Kim Kangas' 47, so that makes it a 27-pin lead for Brooke Anton with 5 boxes to go. Nice spare by Sandy Bianco, which we'll show you in just a second. This 6-7-10, you see how the wood pieces of wood work together and go over and take that 7-pin. So here you can see really the only close match at this point is Peggy Tosi and Amy Doobie, where it's actually, now there I am wrong, it's not a 7-pin lead, it's actually a 1-pin lead for Peggy Tosi. because Amy Doobie was actually leading by 3 after one string. There's a nice spare by Karen Dumais over on lane 6. So that gives her a 70 half to 62 for Charles Duvall. So looks like Karen is gonna almost certainly be moving on to the next round. And a great spare by Amy Doobie, converting this 4-drop. We'll see how she does it. I think this is the 6 pin that comes off the wall, then takes out the 10, and then comes back over to take out the 5. That gives Amy 51 through 6. So that means that right now the match is tied. She's down by 3 in this string, but she had a 3-pin lead going in. So whatever Amy gets on this fill will be her lead in the match. And it's just 3, so so she leads by 3 with 4 boxes to go. It's 54 to 54 in this string. 3-pin lead for Amy overall. Nice bid there on the 3-drop, but she wasn't able to get the 610 as the way she had converted it in the first string. And that's an 8 box there. Kind of a costly miss there, really an opportunity to pick up a couple of pins in a close match. And 9 drop by Peggy Tosi. She has the 10 pin with a piece of wood in front of it. Amy Doobie with a 7 drop, and she's looking at the 4, 7, and 10. Piece of wood that's over in front of the 10, so that's probably not going to be very useful. And that ball went off into the gutter, so that's going to be a 9 box for Peggy Tosi. And also a 9 for Amy Doobie. Just here's another look at it. You can see the pin. Peggy throws a pretty pronounced left to right hook ball, and it just went off the right edge into the gutter there, so that's a 9 box. So Amy Doobie maintains a 2-pin lead with 2 boxes to go. Peggy Tosi is looking at the 1, 4, 7, 8, 10. A couple of pieces of wood that might help her get the corners out of there. And there's a really nice shot for a spare by Peggy Tosi. Bouncing back from that miss, that's the signature of a veteran bowler. And Peggy Tosi has been around the tournament circuit for a long time, so she's not easily rattled by a miss. Comes right back to make a clutch spare in the 9th. So against the 7 box by Amy Doobie, and here's another look at the spare. And you can see the 8-pin is the last to go. So that makes it 81 to 78. She leads by 1 plus the fill. That makes it a 7-pin lead for Peggy Tosi, meaning that Amy Doobie has to convert this 1, 2, 7, 10 spare in order to be able to come back. And Peggy almost makes another spare there. Anyway, Amy has to make this shot. And it doesn't go, so Peggy Tosi will win this match and move on to the next round.
Hello. How you doing?
And meanwhile, Karen Dumais and Charles Duvall are finishing out their match. So Sandy Bianco comes up on lane 4 against Christy Lipke. And Sandy is trailing by, well, let's see, she gets 8 on that spare, so it's trailing by 8 plus the 23. It's a 31 pin lead for Christy Lipke. So Sandy has a lot of ground to make up. And she kind of gets robbed there. That was a tricky piece of wood on that 3-6. It kind of directed the ball around the 3 pin instead of carrying through to get the 6. So she will be open in the 6th. Hard to tell exactly what to do with that piece of wood. She might have gotten a little bit too much of it. So, meanwhile, Cheryl DeVoe finishes up with a 110 to 127 by Karen Dumais. So Karen has 292 in this first round match, and that's good for a trip to the second round. Christy Lipke, after punching out that 2 pin, almost comes back to convert for a spare. You can see the 5 pin is rocking, but it doesn't go. She'll take a 10. Kim Kangas trying to make up 27 pins against Brooke Anton in the battle of the main bowlers. It's going to be a 7 box for Kim and a 9 for Brooke. So it is now a 29 pin lead for Brooke Anton with 4 boxes to go. There's a nice ball by Kim Kangas. She drops 9, leaving a 10 pin. Pretty much has to make this at this point, you'd say, down by 29. And she's got it. Use that piece of wood. So that's a spare in the 7th. Brooke Anton, meanwhile, is looking at the 2, 4, and 10. Piece of wood that might make it interesting. But she kind of got over on the cap of that wood, so she didn't send anything over to get the 10. And she'll take a 10 box. So the lead is 29 minus whatever Kim Kangas gets on the first ball. Kim with another nice ball and another 9 drop. He's got the 8 pin, that orange pin back in there with a piece of wood in front of it. Should go. It looks like it doesn't look like it's going to present much of a problem. And it just goes straight back. So that's it's just 20 pins now. And so that's doable. With Brooke Anton being open in the 8th. And Brooke works it out for a 9. So that makes it actually a 19 pin. If I have the math right, it's a 19 pin lead for Brooke Anton minus the fill. And Kim just gets 4 this time, so it's still a 15 pin lead. And this is a difficult spare, as you well know. And Brooke Anton with the 7 pin misses it for the spare, but it doesn't really matter since Kim didn't mark either. So they'll both be open in the 9th, and so it's still a 14 pin lead for Brooke Anton with 1 box to go. Meaning that Kim Kangas probably has to throw a double strike here. And that's not a strike, so Brooke Anton will be moving on to the next round. In the other match, Christy Lipke closed out the match against Sandy Bianco, and we'll give you the scores in just a moment. While Brooke and Kim finish this match. It's going to be Brooke Anton moving on to the next round as well. And they both have 10s in the last box, and there's the congratulation from Kim Kangas to Brooke Anton, and we will give you the scores. The winners, as you can see, Peggy Tosi, Karen Dumais, Christy Lipke, and Brooke Anton, winning these first round matches at the Ladies Pro Series Playoffs, and we'll have the second round later in the week.